all. Welcome to Selenium WebDriver Framework with Java Training Session 19. So from this session, I will start the relevant topics from framework. What are the framework all about? How we can create the framework from scratch. So going forward, 4 to 5 session will be completely for developing the framework from the scratch level. So in these sessions, I will try to discuss what is framework all about, what are the automation testing process all about, right? Whenever we are talking about the OOPS concept of Java, how they are interlinked with the real-time automation framework, what are the top 10 test automation framework available in market, what is data-driven framework all about, and how we can read the data from the Excel sheet with the help of Apache PY. So we already created lot of class, we practiced lot of Java related stuff, we created lot of standalone kind of Selenium importance features, but as of now we did not create any framework. Definitely we have worked with the TestNG framework. So definitely whenever you are developing some framework, you are required to use TestNG and also Maven. But we will create here the framework from the scratch level, right? Like we will try to see different kind of framework, we will create some framework, and we will try to implement all the Selenium and Java learning, whatever we have learned mostly in the real-time framework. So a framework is nothing but it defines a set of rule or best practice which user can follow in a systematic way to achieve the desired result, right? Because in case you are working in the automation, development, maintenance, manual, it does not matter, right? You can't do whatever your mind is want to do, right? Whatever it comes to your mind. Instead of that, as you are working for a reputed company, you have to go through a systematic way. You have to maintain some protocols, rule, and follow some best practice. So that is all about related to framework. And what is the objective of framework? To achieve the desired result with minimum effort, minimum intervention, and a systematic way. In the market, there are a lot of framework is there, but these are the three important framework which are really used in the market: data-driven, testing framework, keyword-driven, and hybrid. And also there are a lot of framework like called BDD. So in case you learn Cucumber, so there will be that particular framework will be BDD, TDD, behavior data-driven, test data-driven. Those are the also framework available. But related to framework only, related to Selenium framework. So these are the three important framework used mostly. Data-driven, where we can vary the different kind of data. Keyword-driven, where we can inspect the element with the help of keyword. And hybrid is a combination of data and keyword-driven. Okay. So in a test automation project, user do perform different tasks by different type of files. To organize and manage all the files and to finish all the tasks in a systematic approach, we need to also framework. Sometime definitely we will not be hard coding everything, right? Instead of that, we will be trying to derive something from the external source. It can be Excel, it can be kind of CSV, it can be database also. So right, so and we will be maintaining different files and different code for different things in a different different places, instead of combining everything in a single places. So that's so you can segregate easily. So that is one of the another approach for creating the framework from the scratch. What are the major advantage of creating any test automation framework? It is not about specific to Selenium, any kind of test automation framework generic to that. Definitely it will save times and maintain schedule. In case we are using any framework, right, definitely overall time consuming will be less, and we can rely on a particular schedule. Suppose we need to complete within 3 months. In case we are not using any framework, right, maybe it will be hard for all of us to meet the timeline, testing timeline or milestone, right? Reusability of the code. As and when you will see, we will be using the framework, we can reuse the same code multiple times. That is the one major advantage. So we will be creating methods or functions which will be common in nature, and we will be using them multiple times. And in case any changes is required, we will just simply change that method instead of you writing the same method multiple times and updating same thing multiple times. And definitely that will help us to reduce the maintenance effort, overall maintenance effort. Easy reporting. So whatever work you are doing as part of your testing kind of thing, right? It can be functional testing, it can be automation testing, it can be performance. You need to report it. You need to present in some good way, right? To your client, to your stakeholder, to your leadership. So that is the reasons like reporting is a very much important feature in any of the framework, and also at any automation framework help us to report, to extract automated report, to customize the report after the execution is happening, completing. Easy for compatibility testings, right? Sometimes we need to do our compatibility testing in terms of different browser, different OS combination. So the Selenium, any kind of framework help us, right, to do the parallel executions in the different OS and browsers combination. Low cost maintenance, it is cheaper compared to manual testings in a long run, right? Why? Because I already mentioned multiple times, suppose definitely before creating or going for any automation testing, you have to think for the return of investment, ROI. In case ROI is more, definitely we will be going for the automation testing. What is ROI? It is nothing but, I am repeating once again, suppose you are having 100 test cases, 100 test cases, and maybe to run 100 test case it will require 10 days, 10 PD effort, say. Okay, and to automate the 100 test case you might require 30 PD effort, right? And in case those 100 test cases will be running it 2 times, 3 times or 4 times, right? So there is no point of automating them, because your ROI will not be positive, or it will be not be real advantage. But in case if you want to run those 100 script maybe 20 times in a year, so for manual effort, right, every time 10 PD means 20 times is 200 PD. But automation effort, only one time it is taking 30 PD, and maybe for the other run or maintenance I am assuming 20 PD. So it is 50 PD. So you are saving 150 PD. Then only you have to go for the automation. So definitely, right, that you can save times, right, and also kind of you can run very easily. Manual run, it can take longer times, right, but it can automation testing, it will take maybe a few hours instead of a few days. Okay, reliability, because everything is automated, right? So maybe we can also run in the nightly basis. So there is no much dependency will be there, and it will be kind of more reliable. So automation testing is more reliable as less manual intervention is required, right? Only maybe we can trigger our build, as and when build will be coming, we will be running those scripts, right? So automatic system will take care of everything. In case it is a system smoke test, in case we need to run regression test, so it will be driven based on the automation setting. Repetitive executions at the same times of the same test case, right? I was talking about the regression suite. In case for some of the project, few sort of test cases need to run every month or twice in a month or thrice in a month. So definitely those test cases we can automate and we can run them. Minimal manual intervention is required, right? Because I was telling, right, like test case can be run in different browser combination, OS combinations with without manual intervention. We can just set up the configuration, so automatically we can run in the nightly basis, and in the morning after running is over, like it will trigger the mail as well. So in the morning we can get to know that the failure or success is there, so now we can plan accordingly. Maximum coverage, because it will be automated, right? So we can try with different permutation combination, data combination. In case it is manual, right, suppose 100 test case, it will take 10 PD, and if you want to go with another variance of data, again it will take around 8 to 10 PD. Okay, but if it is automated, suppose in case for 100 test case run it took 2 hours, so again if you vary the data, again it will take 2 hours, right? So it will just only varying the data combination. Maybe we can update it different Excel sheet with the data combination, so it will take the kind of maximum coverage, maximum data combination we can try to test, right, to find out any kind of error is there or not. Okay, so this is the basic automation framework concept also. So these are the some of the key parameters, right, that automation or software testers, like, they need to keep in mind whenever they are working or they are trying to develop an automation framework from the scratch level, right? Handle data and script separately, right? This is the major point we need to remember, right? So we should not kind of combines all the script and data together. We need to separate them so that it will help us to like maintain them, or to kind of, in case any kind of maintenance effort or any kind of update is required, we can do it very easily. So automated test script should be clearly separated from the input data stored, like in case XML, flat files, database, everything, right? It should be separated so that no modification are required to the test script whenever data has to be changed from the multiple input level. So in case we want to run same test case with modifying the data only, so we will be only updating the our data, kind of data sheet instead of touching anything in the code, right? The library. So library is very important things. Why we need to create the library? We will be capturing all the relevant information of the web element locators, or maybe we will be capturing all the reusable component, right, in the library, so that we will be calling them from the library instead of kind of scattering everything here and there, right? So library should contains all reusable component and the external connections such as database, generic functions, application function, etc. Software testers should be exposed only to the implemented libraries, and tests should be performed by invoking this library. So we'll be calling those library in the real test case. Coding standard. So that is the very important aspects. You are doing automation function, does not matter. Most of the organization are CMMI, right, 5-4 company. Why they are CMMI 4? Because they are going through some protocol or standard or mentoring something, right? They are not only delivering their kind of details, right? Instead of that, they are following some standard protocol so that it will help the customers, right, any point of time to get the relevant information. So nothing should be scattered. That is the reason we need to follow some standard. So scripting standards should always be maintained across the test automation framework, which will discourage individual coding practice and help in maintaining code uniformity, which makes it easier for software tester developer to interpret. Every organization has some different kind of structure or coding standard, right? So why coding standard need to maintain? Whenever you are creating any class, it should be noun form and it should be start with, right, caps letter. In case it is a method, it should be start with small letter. That's why, right, there are a lot of, in case you are identifying an element, right? So you can give, suppose if it is a web edit field, right? Okay, you can give the name is edit underscore the element name. So you can easily understand this is the web edit. If it is radio button, you can give the name of the element as radio underscore something. In case it is a drop down field, you can give DRP underscore field name, right? In case suppose say it is an image, you can give IMG underscore image or dot something like that, so that it will help you to easily understand what this field all about instead of inspecting or identifying the properties of the element, right? Extensibility and maintenance. Maintenance is really one of the important thing, because most of the automation projects actually they are not successful because of the kind of lacking of maintenance, right? Suppose say today or maybe after last 6 month time, one of the project they have completed the script development for 500 test case, right? But they are not maintaining them regular basis, right? And after 1 year, they need to run those script again. So whenever they are running after 1 year, they found that lot of things, lot of rules, lot of things has been changed, and every test case is failing because of lot of things. So at that time, they felt that in case they want to fix those problems, it will take huge time. Instead of that, they should go with the new development. So that means whatever work you have done, whatever effort you have spent, whatever dollars or money you have spent, right, everything is in mess. That is the reason, in case some of the things maybe need to use in after 6 months, 1 year, but you should run them at least monthly basis and you should correct them to avoid big maintenance effort, right? So ideal test automation framework should steadily support all new enhancement to the software applications and allow modification of the existing features. A reusable library can be created which would help in enhancing application feature with minimal effort, because every time, every releases, some of the schemes behavior can change. So you have to update your script accordingly, right? Instead of using them in after 6 months or 1 year. So it will help you to reduce the effort and to upgrade the script accordingly. And any point of time you can use them. Then the versioning, right? And in any of the project we should mention the versioning thing, right? That is the reason we should be use some SCM tools, software configuration management tools, right? We should use some, I will let you know, right? There are different software configuration tool is there to maintain the versioning, right? Okay, because unless you are maintaining the versioning, you will not able to know, right, for what are the things you have changed, right? Why this is changed, who changes. So we should maintain everything in the versioning control, right? We should maintain everything in the version control history. So version of framework or script should be maintained either in local repository or version tools, which would help in easy monitoring of change of the software code. And another aspect for the versioning importance is, like suppose say today you developed something and you delivered to the client, suppose say version 1.5, and after a few days client is suggesting to change something, so you also modified it and you are naming it to version 1.6, and after some times client is saying that no, revert those change, I want the previous one. So how you again you need to update it, but in case you are maintaining the version, you can revert it to 1.5 version thing instead of changing it again. So that's why version will help you to update your code, right, as and when required, and to you can also see whoever changes, why they change it. Also you can maintain the version details log, right. These are the type of automation testing we can perform with the help of automation framework. We can create script for the smoke test, unit testing test case, integration test case, functional test case, keyword driven test case, regression, data driven, and the black box testing. So this is the important framework concept. I will let you know. Okay. So what type of test case we need to pick up to automate? So definitely I told multiple times, those whatever test case will be using multiple times, so that our ROI will be positive, and definitely we will get some kind of avoid some repetitive work, and definitely we can reduce our overall timeline or overall effort. So that is the reason user should focus on the test case which should be executed in repetitive manners, such as regression test case, smoke, or sanity test case. What type of test case we should not pick up to automate? Okay, so I have tried to jot it down, because whenever you will be giving some interview related to automation, so most of the questions will come from those PPT only. So if you clear out your understanding, you can easily answer any kind of questions has been asked by your interviewer. So before picking up the test case to automate, users need to check whether the application is stable or not, right? So first is that we need to check whether application is stable or not. In case application is not stable and you are completing an automation, and next time while you are running it, you see that like every test case is failed, and you need to again update your script based on the changes. So that is the reason. So you need to identify that whatever test case will not go for any changes in terms of requirement, and for those test case application is really stable enough, so no much changes will be there, so we need to pick up those test case. So based on that, user should not pick up test case when your application under test changes frequently, and the test case which will run rarely, right? In case you are running some test case for one time or two times, you should not take them to automate. Instead of that, you should pick up those test case from the regression, smoke, sanity, or build validation suite, whichever will be running multiple times or repetitive manners with different kind of data combination. Or sometimes you can also create your automation script to create your test data, right, for functional execution as well, to help them. So what are the automation testing process? So this is the following steps we need to follow whenever we will be creating any automation testing project. First one is tool selection, second one is define the scope of automation, third one is planning, design and development, then execution, and the last one is the maintenance. Tool selection, we need to first, this is the very important steps, right? So right now Selenium is supporting all of the testing in case of it is kind of functional system testing, regressions, and also it supports right now Windows based or web based application, right? So you need to first identify the objective of your testing, if it is related to UI, if it is related to image, right, everything. So that after that you need to find the tools, and definitely before that you need to think about the license cost, your budget, everything, because some of the tools in the market is free and some of the tool is not free. You have to provide some cost. Yes.
Sorry, I think there was some network issue. I lost your voice.
Okay. So in the last automation testing process I was talking about, so these are the 5 different steps. One is tool selection, then define scope of automation, the planning, design, development, test execution and maintenance. The first one is the test tool selection. So why we need to select the tool? So because this is the very important process whenever starting any automation, because we need to first identify the objective of your testing, whether you are working on an web based application, you are working on a Windows based application, you are working or some image based application like that, right? And also you need to identify the tools, whatever tools is suitable for testing those applications, whatever tools is free in the market, whatever tool is in the paid service, and if the customer is willing to use those paid to version cost or not, everything. Then only you can go ahead with the scripting. So first thing is that, so based on your application under test, definitely you will be first kind of validating the requirement, and you can get to know that what will be suitable. So that is the kind of based on your experience, you can definitely, not only you, your leadership will collaborate with your customers, and they will decide that what tools we can use, right? For instance, like few of the, every tools have some drawbacks, pros and cons, right? So definitely we can need to go for the important tools which will be relevant for this particular application, and definitely kind of plugin can be integrated based on the customer's needs, like that. Then define the scope of the automation. That is, all the steps are really important. Unless you are very clear, so your automations, kind of whatever you want to automate in the real times, that will not be successful. So the scope of automation is the area of your AUT or application under test which will be automated. So this is the following points you need to remember while defining the scope of the automation. The features that are important for the business, right? In case you are thinking some of the features that will not help, but business will let you know that these are the important features, will be used multiple times in the real time business. So those features we can target. Scenario which has a large amount of data. In case a particular scenario we can test it with 10 different combinations and there is a variance in the outcome, we should try those particular scenarios. The common functionality across application, in case, right, suppose say we are doing some kind of e-commerce automation application, right? So definitely login to the applications with the relevant user, then adding the product, searching the product, adding the product to the cart, payment. So these will be the common features every times, right? Returning sometimes. So these are the things we can definitely try for the automation. Technical feasibility, definitely in case 100 test case, every time we will not be able to automate 100 test case due to some limitation also, right? Okay, in case few of the test cases we think that maybe to automate it will be very hurdle, or maybe it will not be good every time. Sometimes there is a probability of failing those test cases. Definitely we can, after discussing with the relevant stakeholder, we can skip those. That is the reason generally we should try to target 70 to 80% automation, not the 100% sometimes, right? So few of the thing limitation will be there. The next one is the extent to which business components are used. Definitely from the business side we can get to know that these are the thing we will be reusing it. So definitely we can, instead of hard coding, we can create the reusable component. The complexity of the test case, we also need to think. In case they are really complex in nature, high critical, instead of low or medium complexity test case, we should go for the higher critical one, so that majority of the defect can come, right? Instead of automating the UI part, or instead of validating the UI thing, we should go for the logic related test, the business rule related test, business architecture related test, integration related test, so that we can get to know the major defect or major flaws in the application. Ability to use the same test case for cross-browser testing, because what is that cross-browser testing? Is nothing but testing the same thing in multiple OS and browser combination. Because most of the customers, right, some of the thing is not compatible in some of the browsers. So that is the reason same kind of testing. In case we are having 100 test case, so we should take test all the 100 test case in the 3 or 4 browser, or whatever browser they are using, business is using, or maybe whatever systems, right? Also nowadays the mobile testing is also important, right? Because nowadays most of the things are available in the mobiles. right? So sometime we are accessing browser through mobiles, or sometime we are using those application directly from the mobile. So those kind of testings, cross browser testing, cross functional testing, right, cross OS testing, we need to do it. Then the planning, design and development. So it is nothing but planning means you will plan how you can automate, what is your timeline, how many resources there, what are the different kind of environment or other thing you require, and then you will design your script, right? And then you will create the usable component, you will identify the library, create the library, you will be adding your assertion point, right? And then you will be automating all your test case. So during the planning, design and development phase, user will be create automation strategy and plan, which will contain the following: automation, whatever tool has been selected, framework, design and features, and what is in scope and out of scope in terms of automation, what are the things will not automating it, right? Automation test bed preparation, then schedule and timeline, and then also deliverables of the automation testing. Then the next one is the test execution. Once your script are executed, right, you can go for some dry run, definitely, and after that you can go for the real time run, right? So in case you need to run after any kind of build is come, so definitely you can run, and whenever you are running, you need to remember that I will be using some data source from the external kind of source. It can be Excel, CSV, or database as well. Automation scripts are executed during this phase. This script need input test data sheet before they are set to run. Once executed, right, they provide detailed test report. Execution curve can be performed using the automation tool directly or through the test management tools, which will be invoked the automation tool. Sometimes, right, we are not running from the automation tool. Instead of that, definitely after our script is developed, we will be doing the mapping with the test case itself, right? And all the test case will be either placed in Jira or ALM or like the Azure, and our tool need to be automated, right? So that as and when you will be running it either from the test management tool or the automation tool, they will also directly update the status in the test management tool. So that also integration also need to required, right? To save our times, and definitely it will also update the screenshot and the test case level. So example was given, suppose Quality Center is the test management tools, which in terms, right, in case we are running any test case for Selenium or UFT, right, so those script will be running in terms of different machines or browser. Once the run is successful, they will update the test case result along with screenshot in case it is fail or pass or like that, and definitely from that we can prepare our report, right, easily, that how many test cases have been pass, fail, and what are the defect they have. Also they will log the defect automatically, automatic process. Then the test automation maintenance approach. So I already told multiple times, this is the major thing, and in case we are not maintaining our script, it will be, there is no point of automating. Otherwise, in the real times, you will not able to get the ROI, right? In case you are not automating in, and in the real times you are having 3 days time, and whenever you start to run those script, you find lot of problems, lot of issues, not related to defect, but internal issue. And in case you are not able to fix them in 3 days time, so your timeline gone, and you are not able to do anything. So that is the reason it's better to update the script as and when required, based on that, application changes or other thing, right? So that in the real time you can get the real implementation or the real benefit. So test automation maintenance approach is an automation testing phase carried out to test whether the new functionality added to the software are working fine or not. Maintenance in automation testing is executed when new automation scripts are added and need to be reviewed and maintained in order to improve the effectiveness of automation script with such repetitive successful release cycle. Sometimes you already developed 100 test cases, right? And sometimes maybe out of 100 test cases, you find that 20 test cases are not relevant, and maybe you need to add 10 new more test cases. So you will be removing 20 test cases. Definitely you will be not be removing, you will be making commented, right? And you will be adding 90 test cases. So that is also another important aspect. So definitely, suppose say nowadays you are learning Selenium with Java, okay? So after 2 years, no one can say that like Selenium will be in the good place on the market or not. Maybe Selenium nobody will be using. Instead of that, a lot of tools will be coming. So definitely you have to upgrade your test bed as well, right? Whatever is not relevant, you can comment them. Whatever is relevant, you need to try to add them in your bed. So that's why you can also, like, your main objective will be fulfilled. So these 3 slides I will let you know the real time implementations of OPS concept whenever you will be using it. Definitely now it is theoreticals, but in the real time also you can get to know whenever I will be creating the framework from the sketch levels, how we can use all the OPS concept of Java in the real time automation. So you know already, right, there are 4 OPS concept. One is data abstraction, one is polymorphism, right, another one is encapsulation, and another one is inheritance. And in the polymorphism there are 2 polymorphism, one is the method overloading and one is the method overriding, right. So this is the 4 OP concept, and all the 4 OP concept are used in the real time framework. So data abstraction is nothing, right, but the property by virtue of which only the essential details are displayed to the user. The trivials or the non-essential unit are not displayed to the user. In Java, abstraction is achieved by interface and abstract class. User can achieve 100% abstraction using interface. In Selenium, WebDriver itself acts as an interface. You already know, right? So WebDriver, and after that you are creating a driver equal to new Chrome driver, new iDriver, new Firefox driver, right? New Gcode driver. So that is the kind of statement I have given. So whenever user initialize the Chrome browsers or iBrowsers, right, using the Selenium WebDrivers, so it means they are creating a reference variable driver of the object of the interface, right, WebDriver, and creating an object. Here WebDriver is an interface and Chrome driver is a class. So user can apply data instruction in Selenium framework by using the page object model design pattern as well. So I will slowly let you know how we can do that. They can define all the locators and their method in page class. After that, user can use this locator in the test cases itself, but definitely we are not seeing the implementation of the underlying method. Just in some of the classes we are actually adding the details of the method, and some of the other page classes we are just kind of using them or calling them. So we are not able to get to know the implementation, but we are using them. So user only show the locators in the test but hide the implementation. This is simple examples how the data is abstraction or one of the most important OPS concept works in the real-time framework. Then the next one is encapsulation. Encapsulation is nothing but the wrapping up data and code together in a single unit. It is a mechanism that binds together code and data, right, and it manipulates. Encapsulation can be achieved by declaring all the variables in the class as private and writing public method to the class to set the get the value, right. I already let you know the setter and the getter. So you are setting some value and you are getting, right. So we are declaring, right, the class as private and the methods as public. So definitely you can get to know in the real time framework. All the classes in automation framework are an example of encapsulation. So all the classes will be private and the methods under the classes will be public. In page object model classes, user declares the data members with the help of @findby, and initializing of data member will be done using constructor to utilize those methods. Then an inheritance. Inheritance is nothing but like kind of using the properties of the father or forefather to the child's level, right. So we are creating some kind of parent class or base class, and also we are creating some subclass or child class, and we are trying to utilize all the properties of the parent to the child class. So definitely in the real-time framework we will be using some base class where we will be creating all the important methods, right, for kind of giving the properties of the kind of path of the exe files. In case we need to capture screenshot, we will be giving the path. Everything will be given in the base class, and as and when we will be creating new kind of page class, we will be implementing simply extending or implementing those class. So that's how you can use the inheritance. Okay, so user can apply inheritance automation framework by creating a base class to the initialize the WebDriver interface, browsers, wait, report, logging, etc. And then they can extend this base class and its methods in other classes like test or utilities. This is a simple example how we can apply inheritance in our framework. Then the polymorphism, right? So polymorphism is nothing but like kind of poly means many and forms, right? Morphism means form, so many forms. So right, same things can be we can get in different forms. So it can be achieved in through different way. One is the method overloading and another is the method overriding. So method overloading is nothing. Suppose say you want to add something, right? So definitely you can provide you can do some 3 parameter 2 parameters with different kind of signatures or different kind of data types, right? And also suppose for a particular method, suppose I am creating a methods called for the addition of two kind of variables. Variables can be integers, sometimes it can be double, sometimes it can be float, right? Sometimes we can pass only integer a and integer b as a parameter. Sometimes also we can get the result as a parameter, but my method's name is not getting changed, so that is called method overloading, right? Suppose implicit wait is an example of method overloading, right? Sometimes we are using suppose seconds, minutes and hours. Then method overriding, in case suppose say base class and the child class have the same methods, right? And definitely in case we want to use them, so definitely parent class will be overridden and child class will come into the mixture. So that is called a method overriding. In case still we want to use the parent class, we can use the super keyword, right? So it occurs when the derived class has the definition for one of the method function of the base class, that the base function is said to be overridden. In Selenium automations, method overriding can be achieved by overriding any WebDriver methods. Suppose in the WebDriver there are a lot of methods is there, but as and when required, we can also override those. So we will see in the real-time examples when what are the methods can be overridden. Suppose say I am giving you one example, right? Implicit OL also can be overloaded. Suppose in the base class you are using implicit OL and you are giving say wait time as 10 seconds for generic way, okay, but you are automatic a particular page where your wait time should be 1 minute, because to load that page you need to wait for one time, otherwise you will fail. So that for navigating to that particular thing, you are overriding your implicit wait. Instead of 10 second default, you are giving it 60 seconds. So these are the top 10 framework available in the market. Okay, so there are a lot of framework is there, maybe 30 around. So which are commonly used, out of which these are the top 10 framework, right, used in the market. So like robot framework. So robot framework definitely will be using only whenever we will be creating the Selenium script with the Python only, not the Java with Java. So robot framework is the best choice in case we want to automate our with the Selenium Python test automation framework for our test automations effort. The robot framework is Python based, but you can also use Jython, right, or Iron Python for the robot framework. The robot framework uses a keyword driven approach to make test easy to create. Robot framework also tests MongoDB, FTP, Android, APM and more. It has many test libraries including the Selenium WebDriver library and other useful tools. It has a lot of APIs to help make it as extensible and possible. The keyword approach used by robot framework is great for the testers who are already familiar with vendor-based keyword-driven test tools, making the transition to open source much easier for them. So, in case you are only automating with Selenium WebDriver and Python, then only you can go for the robot. But in case you are using Java, so you have to use other framework, right? Keyword-driven, data-driven with the help of, or hybrid framework with the help of page object model. WebDriver IO is an also important test automation framework based in Node.js. It has an integrated test runner, right? We can run automation test for web applications as well as native mobile apps. Okay, so it can run both on the WebDriver protocols and Chrome's DevOps protocols, making it efficient for both Selenium WebDriver based cross-browser testing or Chromium based automation. As WebDriver IO is also open source. Okay, so but user get a bunch of plugins for the automation need, right? So Windows setup wizard makes the setup very easy and simple. Then the next one is Citrus. It is also an open source framework. So I think all the major framework whatever I am talking about, all are based on the open source only. So you don't need to provide any kind of license cost, and you can get everything from the right, I think GitHub. Most of the framework you can get. Which with the help of Citrus, user can automate integration test for any messaging protocol or data format, right? So in case we need to using any REST, HTTP, SOAP or JMS, right, that Citrus framework will be suitable for the text messaging integration. In case user need to interact with the user interface, then we need to verify the backend process as well, right? So you can integrate Citrus with Selenium. Suppose I try to give a simple example. In case user have to click on and send email button and verify on the backend that the email has been received or not, right? So the normal thing, we can't check it that particular message is received or not. So we have to go in the backend stuff and we can check whether the receipt has been received or not with the help of suppose some configuration need to be do, right, for the JMS communication triggered by the UI. So you can verify that that has been received at all by the user. The Cypress is the developer centric test automation framework that makes test data driven development. So I was telling, right, apart from the keyword driven, data driven and hybrid, there are a lot of framework available. One is BDD, behavior driven development, TDD, test data driven development, right? So this is the test data driven development. We can do it with the help of Cypress. So Cypress also nowadays is really lot of vendors, lot of customers, lot of organizations using the Cypress tool. Okay, so it is a development centric automation framework that use the TDD. Okay, mainly for the developers, but definitely we can also use by the tester as well. Its design principles was to able to package and bundle everything together to make the entire end-to-end testing experience pleasant and simple way. Cypress has different architecture than Selenium. While Selenium WebDriver runs remotely outside the browser, Cypress runs inside of it. This approach helps us understanding everything that's happened inside and outside browser to deliver more consistent result. It does not require user to deal with object serializations or over the wire protocols while giving the user native access for every object. Cypress can synchronize, notify user of every single things that happen inside the browser as user are pulling their app into it, so that user can have native access for every DOM element. It also makes it easy to simple drop a debugger into their application, which in turn make it easier to use the developers tool. Maybe why I have depicted all the 10 framework, you can get a basic understanding what is all about and what are the different kind of things we can also try for automating, right? So sometimes in the interview they can ask some of the questions. Definitely you are working for Selenium WebDrivers, but there is no harm that you can know that this is a real-time framework, and if you complete go through all the framework, you can get to know that each and every framework has some pros and cons, right? So that is the major thing. That is the reason I have tried to depict them. Selenium WebDriver, I am not telling it again. So it is nothing but like automating the basically for the web-based application with the help of different language for the cross-browser testing like that. Then the Cucumbers. So Cucumber is a very important thing in the nowadays. Okay. So in the Selenium, right? Whenever we are doing with test engine framework, right, it is especially for the testers, whereas JUnit for the JUnit for the unit testing, right? But Cucumber, where every developer, tester, business analyst can do the development and help to developing the framework, right? So it is a cross-platform behavior-driven development tools that is used to write acceptance tests for web application. Cucumber is quick and easy to set up execution and allow reusing code in test. It supports language like Python, PHP, Perl, Scala, Groovy, etc. Automation of functional validation in an easy, readable and understandable format. One good feature is that both specification and test documentation are uploaded in a single up-to-date document. Cucumber makes it easy for the business stakeholder who are not familiar with testing, and they can easily read the code as test report are written in a business readable English. So the code will be written in just pretty simple English, so that anyone, it can be Scrum Master, it can be business analyst, it can be product owner, they can also go through the code and they can get to know what is the objective of each and every test case. So there will be some condition will be there, okay, like given, then, when, right? Given, when and then. Suppose for each and everything there will be scenario. Suppose I am giving simple example. You need to automate a particular kind of login. So scenario will be login, check login or login is successful. Then given is that when and then, right? Given, when and then. So given will be that you will be given some user ID and password. When in application URL is open and you are giving that particular user ID password, then you are able to log into the application. Suppose you are doing some negative testing that you are not able to log in with the user ID combination. So then will be that with that user ID password combination, then will be the application login will not be successful and it will show some error. So that's why, right, it's a kind of business readable English format. The code can be used together with the other functionality like Selenium, Waitier, okay, Capybara, etc. So definitely Selenium will be used. Okay. Then the other few the importance is like Gauge, Serenity, Carina, and Earl Grey. These are a lot of another thing also used. Whereas Gauge is for will be used also. We can use with the TDD and BDD both the framework altogether. Okay, and whereas Serenity will be using the BDD tools such as Cucumbers and JBehav. Whereas Carina will be using like APM, especially for the APM, TestNG and Selenium, right? Will be using that Serena for the specific mobile related testings, okay, as well as some RESTful Carina framework support different type of database testing like MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, okay, PostgreSQL like that. Whereas Earl Grey is used for so the developer often face difficulty with some of the existing test automation framework in synchronization of the app and the instrumentation. Also, executing test on app as synchronized and advanced only when the UI element is visible on the screen has caused issues for many developers. So Google's Earl Grey has built-in synchronization that makes the script wait for UI event to occur before the script tries to interact with the UI of the application. So sometime in case your loading time is really slow, instead of using that like implement await, implicit await, explicit await, multiple await, fluent await, so you can use that particular framework so that it will help in case suppose it is taking 1 minute, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, it will automate with the application behavior. It will try to synchronize based on the automation behavior. You no need to worry, you no need to add any synchronization point. So that is the major advantage of the 10 frameworks listed above. Robot, Selenium, Driver.io, Citrus, Cypress, Selenium, Cucumber, Gauge, Serenity, Carina, and Earl Grey. Then what is the framework in Selenium? So Selenium framework is a code structure that is used to make code maintenance simpler and readability better. So definitely like all the automation framework concept will be maintained in the Selenium framework as well, and also some of the important features we can implement with the help of Selenium, maybe which is not available in the other framework also. So Selenium framework is a code structure that is used to make our code maintenance simpler and readability better. It helps in dividing the entire code into smaller part of the code in systematic way, which tests the particular functionality. So definitely we will be using some reusable component, we will be separating data and code, right? So without framework at starting, we have written complete code and data in the same place, but neither reusable nor readable. But with the help of Selenium framework, we can structure the code in a better way. We can segregate our test data from the actual test case, which will help us analyze and update data easily. It increases code readability, helps to get the desired result in a systematic way, and reduce script maintenance cost. Okay. Without framework, a single test case may have millions lines of code. It will test the entire functionality of the application. Now suppose user need to modify a particular functional late time. So definitely in case we are not using a framework, it will really tough to identify the code for the multiple places. In case for the some of the places we are not able to update, your script will fail. Again you need to debug and you need to fix your code. Instead of that, in case we are using a framework, we will be following some protocol, standard, rules, right, or everything. So that's why we can segregate the different component which will be used multiple times, and we will be updating the component so that there is no need of updating in multiple places. Okay. When we did not use Selenium structures, it breaks the entire code into smaller part. Whenever we will be using it, then the smaller part can be easily readable, and in case we are trying to identify a particular function and update it, we can easily do it. Okay, so I already mentioned there is three type of different importance framework I will discussing here. data driven, keyword driven and hybrid, right? So data driven means, suppose you already seen in my test engine session, right? So this is the test engine sessions where I let you know the concept of data provider, right? So okay, so data provider is nothing, will provide the data in the, here you can see whenever you have scripted the particular test cases, right? So definitely this is the simple script for logging to the Facebook application and quitting the application. But in case we need to provide the different data combination, right? So how can we do it? So we will be doing it with the help of data provider, where we will be using the different kind of user ID password, right? You can see here 2 is active, but we can change it 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, different ID combination. And in the test case itself, in the @test annotation, we are using another thing called data provider equal to that provider method name, right? And in the test methods, we are passing the variable instead of hard coding it here, right? Instead of send keys user 1 2 3 password 1 2 3, we are giving some variables, right? And here also in the data provider, using the @data provider, we are creating as a methods where we will be defining an object of size and iteration. This is the row where it will iterate number of time, and this is the column through which we will be providing the data into the respective input field. We can change the iteration 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, it will return the data, and that data will go here as part of data provider. So this is the simple thing we have written, right? But now we will not be hard coding it here. So you can see here hard coding lot of times will be required, right? We need to add thing data 1 2 0 3 0, there can be mistake, right? But instead of hard coding, we will be using some Excel or CSV or some database. So I will be just adding it, the user ID password, user ID password, user ID password, and you can easily maintain it instead of maintaining here, right? And in case we want to maintain it here, it will be also complicated, right? But we will be maintaining some data in different source, okay? So this is the data driven key approach, right? In the data driven framework, test data and code are stored separately, and then automation test script is connected with test data stored in external file. So this is the file stored data. We are trying to read the data from here with the help of automation script Selenium. And in case that is required, we can update it here. And with the help of that, we are interacting with that AUT application under test. So data driven framework in Selenium is a technique of separating the data from the actual test case or code. Since the test case is separated from the data set, user can easily modify the test case of a particular functionality without making changes to the code. Data driven framework is used to drive test case and shoot from external data feed. The data feed can be datasheet, it can be XLS, XLX and CSV file or database as well. So user has to modify the code of login functionality. Then they can modify just the login function instead of having the modify of any other features dependent on the same code, right? So in case we need to read and write the data, so we need to deal with Apache PY, right? So with that, with the help of those jar files, we can get the relevant important methods, and through which we can read or write data from the external source. It can be CSV, Excel or database. So this is the path where we can download the zip file. So I will let you know. After that, we can need to import those jar files, and we can add them into the project. So why data driven testing is important? They reduce cost, the adding of new test case and changing them when your business rule change. Suppose today I need to test with 2 data. So tomorrow I need to test with 10 data. So I will be updating the Excel sheet. In case out of 10 data, next run I need to run with 5 data with different thing, I will be updating in the Excel sheet without touching anything in the code, right? So that is the reason we are using data driven testing. So this is done by creating parameters for different scenario using data set with the same code run, with the different combination, right? Data driven testing also helps to identify data is most important for the tested behavior. By separating first class scenario data into parameters, it becomes clear what matter most of the testing. This makes it easy to remember how something works when developer need to change it, right? In case suppose say today we are having two things to log into the thing, right? One is user ID, one is password. Okay, so tomorrow instead of user ID password they are adding one more field. Suppose it can be captcha or kind of something like that, SMS like that, right? So we can add one column as well in my Excel data sheet, and maybe we can add some of the script, so it will also work. So that is the reasons we should go for the data driven approach sometimes. So what are the major advantage? It allows testing of the entire application with multiple set of data values during regression testing. It separates test case data from the executable test script. It allows reusing of action and function on different tests. It generates test data automatically. This helps when large volume of random test data is necessary. Right? Suppose in case you need to create some test data, right? In case, suppose say I am giving a simple example. Maybe in case you are working for any insurance project, right, and you need to create some policy or claim, right, and with that particular thing you need to do some relevant transaction. So with the help of automations, data driven testing, with the different data parameter combination, you can create those test data. After that, during functional testing, those data can be used, and they can, functional tester can use those test data, and after that they can do the post transaction, right? So result in creation of extensive code that is flexible and easy to maintain. Let's developer and tester separate the logic of their test case or script from the data. It's allow execution of the test case several times, which help to reduce the test cases and the script. It does not let change in test specific effect to the test data. By incorporating test driven testing using Selenium, tester can refine their test case for more efficient execution. This shortened timelines, right, makes their life easier and result in more thoroughly tested and better quality way. So main advantage is that it will reduce time, it will go for systematic way, right, it will help everyone their time, right, it will help project level to maintain the schedule, and it will help thorough testing and in a formative way, and at the end of the day it will depict the result to the relevant stakeholder in a very good or proper format, right? So whenever let's try to understand this concept first. So I will try to automate something, right, with the help of data driven technique, where I will be reading the data from the external source. So I will be using that data provider concept, which is nothing but you already learnt in the TestNG framework. You can see. So suppose say for the first time I want to hard code, right? So I will be using that public void Facebook login, and I will be hard coding it, email and password. But in case I want to test for different combination, so I will be using data provider, where I will be providing the data, and here in the test case level I will be calling it data provider equal to the method name, and I will be using some variables where I will be, instead of hard coding, I will be using those variables. So here you can see we can change the data also, right? Instead of one set, so row and column, row will be number of iteration, column will be number of data we want to pass it. So it will be ID and password, right? So definitely I can run with different combination, or it is combination 1, combination 2. So combination 3 and 4 I have also commented out, but I can also uncommented it, right? So that it will go for 4 different combination, right? So now it will run for 4 different combination. Okay. So for the one user 1, password 1, like that, 2, 2, 3, 3, like that. So let's try to run it and let's see how many it is running. So same test case, but it will try to run with 4 different combination of data with the help of data provider. But we are not using an external source, we are using the same class where we are providing the data provider. Okay, but with the help of data driven technique, we will be using some external source where we will be adding those data instead of hard coding in the same test case or in the same class. So in the same thing we will be it will run. Okay, why it got failed? Okay, sorry. So I have given here 4, right? But here I have given 2 only. Okay. So I need to give it to 4 also. This is the 4 different variation. You need to remember it. So this will be fixed because it is a different data and here iteration. So you need to make it sync. So now it should run. Array index of bound, right? So you can see, you can debug it. So you can see it is running, right, based on the combination we are giving. So maybe my settings for that everything has been changed to Bengali, so that is the reason you are seeing Bengali word. So I can change it to English, not be a problem. But your data element locator will not be changed in case you are changing it to some local language, Bengali, English or something like that. Okay. So it is still working. So you can see total 4 number of iterations run and total 4 no failure. And you can see the combination, right? 4 run and everything you can get to know the different kind of login and password, right? Here also you can get to know the how many test cases has been run, right? But this part I need to automate through external source. It can be Excel.
One question. So 4 will be iteration and 2 will be the number of means what will be the 2 in that?
2 is kind of element.
Element, okay.
And this is the number of iteration. So you need to make it sync, right? Now suppose say if you want to change it to comment it to another 2 set, so definitely you have to make a change in your iteration. Simply you need to change it. Now if you want to save and run it, it will not throw any error, it will definitely run. Otherwise, so column you are not changing because your number of field is same. In case if you want to add some field, so definitely you need to change the column only, then only. And here you instead of that column you will be changing it, data 0 and column will be 0, 1, 2. You are adding it to 3. So it will run for 2 iterations. Okay, you can see it's to run Nissan, completed and it will be finished. Okay, you can see it's finished to run. So that's why you will be running it, but we will be handling it from here directly. But now let's try to handle it from external source, right? So suppose say I am creating some file. I am giving some name as Facebook credential. Okay, so that is the thing I am giving. Okay, and I want to definitely read it, and I am adding some value here. Then I will be reading those value. Suppose say I am giving username 1111. So I want to read those value. Okay, here I can update anything, right? Suppose say I want to run it for 3 times, tomorrow I want to run it for 5 times, just simply I will updating it, I will saving it, right? So one thing I already let you know, right? So before that you need to import the jar file from the Apache PY, because that is the for where, right, all the important methods will be available in the jar file. So you need to go to that path Apache, That is the path already given in the PPT as well. So you can get to know the path I have given here. So in the path you can get the latest version or any kind of prior version. So you need to click on that versions, right? After that you need to go through the zip files. But definitely as and when we will be creating the Maven project, we will be adding the dependency instead of jar file. So you already know in the Java project you have to add those, extract those jar file and you need to add those jar file manually. You need to click on that link. So it is loaded here. Okay. So here it is kind of version already uploaded here. The 4 version. So this one I have already uploaded. Sorry, I extracted here and read. So if I open this file, so there will be a lot of jar files will be there. So we will be adding all the jar file into our project, right? So how can I add those jar file in the project? So suppose this is the project we are rebooting. Just simply right click here. I already know, right, how to do it. Properties, go to the properties, go to the Java build path, click on the add external jars, and you can go to the folder path, right? So in the desktop I am having the POI, right? So we can add all the jar file outside or within that folder and also this folder. So whatever folder all the jar file is available, so I'll be selecting and I'll be opening, and after that I am adding and then applying and closing. So I have already added all the jar file here. Okay, so that's why after extracting, so all the jar file you need to go through the folder structure, and whatever jar file is there you just need to simply add them. Okay, that is the first path, first step. Then maybe in the Selenium training project I will create a class, right, for reading the data. So today is session 19, right? I will be creating a data sheet. That is the method I am creating for reading the data, right? And whenever you will be dealing with Apache POI, you need to remember few of the concept. Definitely today you will learn something, and going forward you will learn more and more, right? So for the XLSX from 2007 onward it will be XLSX, right? So you have to use that all the importance methods, right? So whenever you are trying to deal with Excel, so you need to remember few of the important things. So first one is, what is this? First one will be, you are first going to a particular location, right? And after that you are creating an Excel workbook. So okay, so this is the location in the D drive. So first one is the location, second one is the Excel name, then third one is the Excel sheet name, fourth one is row, then column, and then your value. So that are the important aspects you need to remember. So you can't directly go to the value, you need to first go to the path, you need to go to the workbook, you need to go to the sheet, then row, column, and then value. Okay, so whenever we will be using Apache POI, we will be using that importance concept from that. For workbook it will be access F workbook, for worksheet it will be access F sheet, for row it will be access F row, for column it will be access F column, like that. So we need to remember, but here only workbook and sheet, that those things will be using it. So we can use those things in as part of global variable. Okay, so I will be using access F workbook, and I am giving a variable name, right, workbook. You can see some error message is coming, so we need to import it, right, from the org.apache py.xsf.user model. So here if you go to the reference library, you can find out, right, that OXML, that is the jar file as part of Apache PY. If you expand it, you will find out the Apache PY.xsf and then user model, that is the package user model. So under those package, so all the classes whatever I was talking about, right, not that one, user model XSF, okay, that is the thing, yeah, model, no, that is not XSSF user model. Okay, model XSSF. Yeah, so that one, right? In that thing you can already definitely can get to know whatever classes, whatever I am talking about, XSS workbook, I think it will be there, right? This is the class, and for this I am creating a variable. Similarly, first workbook will come, then worksheet, then your row, and then your column, right? So then I will be creating another variable for worksheet, XSSF. So you need to use that same term, sheet, worksheet. You can sheet. Okay, this is the global variable I can declare, so that in case any time I can use it, I will be using it. That is the reason we should create those global variable. So you already know local variable, it will be only accessible in the class level, but in case we are global variable, it will be used in the class level. Local variable will be only applicable for the method level, right? So for the sheet, right, XSSF sheet, you can find it, yes. So just simply you need to use that term. In case it is a row, you will be using that one. In case it is a column, you can use that column. So just in case you forgot it, just have a check from here. So no need to worry. So that is the reason I am trying to let you know the importance, right? Cell, even it is cell, right? If it is a column, so we will be using same thing, same name. Sorry, so column will be cell, okay. Row, cell, like that. Okay, so I am creating two variables. Then I need to create a constructor. So you already know how to create a constructor. So constructor will be same as the class name, right? So I will be creating a constructor which will be type will be public, access modifier, public, and then constructor name. And here, instead of hard coding, I will be giving the path of the Excel. I need to import it. Sorry, what is the thing? Okay, let's try to create. Yes, here instead of hard coding, I am creating a variable string, okay, Excel file path, right, or test data path, anything I can give it, okay. So you know how to access the file. So I have to use the file class. I have to create a variable file equal to new file, right? Here I can give the path. So I think that is already covered in Java. In case you are forgetting, so you need to remember it, okay. You need to import the file class from the Java IO.
Okay. What's the need of creating constructor over here?
Yeah, constructor is because whenever I will be creating the test cases, right here, in case my method name is different, so I have to create a object or instance for the class, right, for this class. In case I am creating a constructor, I will be using that constructor directly in that here. So I will let you know, okay, because here I will be using that one. Otherwise that line of code will be same. Whenever I will be trying to get the data provider, right, so instead of hard coding it here, I will be trying to take help from the whatever method I am writing it here, right. So in case the constructor is same, right, method name is same with constructor, so you can directly use the constructor instead of creating any object or instance here, okay. So let's see, after that you can easily understand it. After that, first we can create the files. After that we need to create a object or instance for the file input stream, right, file input stream if I is equal to new file input stream. and here I need to give the path of the file. So that is nothing but I am using the simple thing of Java for reading the files. For writing the file, it will be file output stream. Okay. Now you can see some error message is coming. We need to surround with try catch block. Then I think it's done now. Okay, maybe I can surround all the things with another try catch block. Sometimes it can create some error. So let's try to surround with try catch block. Yeah. So to overcome any kind of error. Okay. So that's why I have tried to create. Yeah. So sorry, that's not the case. So after that I need to read the file, right? So I will be using that FIS where I will be reading it in the try catch block. Try, under the try, so first try is given, right? Then here I am trying to read it. So I have created a workbook, right? That variable. So I will be using that variable. Sorry, where gone? Yeah, I will be using that variable, and with further variable I am using it with the help of new access shape workbook, and I am giving the reference of FIS. Okay. So you can see some error messages there. So we need to surround with again the try catch block. Add try catch block, surround with try catch blocks. I think it will now successful. Okay. Okay. So nothing. So I have created some global variables. First one is workbook, because I already mentioned we need to get the path, then your workbook, then your worksheet, then your row, and then your cell, right? So those two things I will be using it. So that is the reason I have created those variable, global variable, and I am created a methods which is nothing but a constructor, right? Where I am providing the path for files, not hard coding it anything, right? I am creating a file object or variables with the help of file class. Then I am reading it with the help of file input stream. Then I am workbook. I want to read it with the help of that file input stream. So that is the method I have written here. So that is one method for reading the class. Then I will be creating another class for reading the sheet. Means in Excel there can be multiple sheet, right? So I need to read the sheet as well. So I will be creating some method public. It will be give you my string data type, and I will be creating suppose say get Facebook data, or maybe I can get generic thing, right? Get data, and here I will be providing the variable. Suppose what are the thing I need to read through that methods. I will first reading the sheet number, then I will be reading the row, and then I will be reading the column, right? So integer sheet number, comma, integer row, this is the variable integer column. Okay. And whenever I am creating any method, definitely I need to keep the double quote. So error message should gone. Why this kind of error is coming? Let's see. Okay, I need to return. Definitely I need to return it because I need to get something. So I will be first. I already here read the workbook, right? Then after workbook I need to read the sheet. Which sheet I want to read? So here after workbook I will be reading sheet, which will be nothing but from the workbook variable, right? So here I have already read the workbook, then I need to read the sheet dot get sheet, that will be methods available. So you need to maintain the protocols, okay? Get sheet, dot get sheet at, so I will be giving the index number, right? So I can give the index, which will be nothing but the sheet number, the variables, right? I can give it whatever number will be given. So I will be reading it. Then I will be storing the data, right? So I want to data stored equal to, so I already read the sheet, then from that sheet I want to read the data, right? So first I will be get row, I will be getting the row. So just follow the protocol. Definitely it will be not be very easy, but if you want to if you just try to follow the protocol, it will be easy. Get row, yeah, that is the thing, right? And you can see return type is coming in XSS row, okay? Then here we will be giving the variable as row. Then once row you then you need to get the column, right? So that's the way, right? Get column. Or sorry, get cells. There is no importance of column, so get cells, okay? So here you can get the cells where you can pass the column variable. Then you need to get the value, right? So there is a method called get string cell value. So let's try to recall that method. Get string cell value, get string cell value. You can see the return type is XSS cell, right? So first will be path of the Excel sheet, then Excel name, then sheet name, then row, then get cell, and then the value of the cell. So that is the hierarchy. We are simply following, nothing more, right? As the data type for whatever, it will be string, so I need to store in some string. Then I need to return the data. As it is a method, we need to return, because I have already given the return types to string, so I need to return it. Okay, and then that's all for this method. So error message you can see gone, no error message. So I already read my data, I already get to know the path. You can see here I already get to know the path here, right? I already stored the path, and with the help of FI stream I already got to know my workbook and then sheet workbook here, and here I am reading the sheet. Then I am reading with the help of sheet number, so it will be 0 1 2 3 4 like that in case multiple sheet. Then I got to know the row, then I just got to know the cell number, which is the column, and then I also got to know the value. So that's why I have read it completely. But also I need to make sure, right, I am reading only data where data is there. I am not going to read the blank row, definitely, right? And also I will be reading the row or column, whatever I will be giving. So for the row wise, I will be not be reading any row where no data is value is there. So I will be reading it where the value is there. So for that I will also create another variable, another methods, okay, which will be public get row count. Public get row count, and definitely it will be integer, so its return type will be integer. So you need to remember the return type also. Here the data is return type integer, so it will be string, right? And here it will be return type will be integer. Get row count, and definitely we need to give some variable also, some kind of variable. So it will be integer, and I will passing the sheet index or sheet number, because I already given here sheet number, so I will be giving it sheet index, another variable. So sheet will also go through the seat number only. Okay, this is nothing but the same thing. Okay, how I will get to know? So I will be reading the row first. So how to read the row is nothing but row equal to, you can see, first I need to go to the workbook, right? For reading the row, then dot get seat as. And here definitely we will be giving the seat index, that variables whatever we are passing. Then I can get the last row where data is there, get last row number. Okay, so that is the important methods you can see here available in XSF sheet. Okay, through which I can get to know till which the data is there, not the blank row. So it will give me the return integer, right? So I will be storing it some integer. Okay, then I will be iterating it. All the row I will be going through, right, one by one. So I will want to iterate it. Row equal to row plus 1. Okay, then I want to simply return row, because this is the method return type is there, return row. Okay, so that is the simple 3 important method I am writing. Okay, one is, so first thing is that definitely you need to get to know the path of your object or data sheet. Once you know the path, you will be knowing the sheet, Excel sheet name. Once you open the Excel sheet, you need to know the sheet, how many sheet is available, and or you need to know the tab or sheet name. Then you need to know the row number, and then you need to go know the cell number or column number, and then you need to get to know the value. And one method I have created to get to know, to go over all the row and to see whether any kind of data is there. So that row I will be iterating it only instead of all the row. So this is the 3 important method I have created. Okay, so let's close this thing. Then I will be creating a method here for data driven testing. So it will be nothing but session 19 data driven. Okay, I am not checking the public static void main because I will be creating the TestNG thing, right? So simply I will be copy pasting this thing. I will be not writing anything. Okay, let's copy paste this same line of code whatever you have written last time. Okay, you can see no error message is there. So we will be changing that part only. Okay, we will be removing that part and we will be updating it here from the extra data source. Instead of hard coding it here, we will be trying to utilize the data source. So otherwise same line of code I will be using. I am not changing anything. So here in that Excels, I want to create a test class session 19 test data driven. I am creating a variables, global variables, right? And I am creating a method where I want to give variable name, password and user ID, you can see here, and I want to give the printout, and once it is logged, I will creating the driver, and I want to read with the help of data provider, which I am using here data provider, and the method name I am giving enter user ID and Facebook. I can change it, right? Enter Facebook credential, and also I need to change it here also. Okay, so that's why I will be updating it. Now here in the data provider, I will be updating my comment to read it from the whatever method we have written, right? So here I have created a constructor, right? So I will let you know how we can use the constructor. Instead of class, we need to create a variables of the class, and then we need to use it. Here instead of directly, as it is constructor for getting the path, I will be directly using that Okay, so I will be just removing that part. Okay, and here I will be using that class details, method details, constructor details, whatever I created in the other class. So I will be creating that one constructor, and here I am creating a variable for configuring my Excel equal to new, the same class or constructor name, and here I need to give the path, right, because that is the objective of the constructor. So I need to give the path. So what is the path of the Excel? So if I right click here, so it is nothing but D drive and the Excel name, right, and then the extension. So I will be, let's copy paste this part. So it is in the D drive. Here in the double quote I need to give it D drive, double slash I need to give, because single slash does not work, dot Excel S and X, that is the pattern, right. So I have given it, the first thing is done, I have given the path, and I need to close it with semicolon. Error message gone. Still here error message is there because I need to also call the thing. Then I will be iterating, right. I want to get to know how many row is there. So I will be creating a variable for get to know how many rows data is there. Rows equal to, so I will be creating that variable config dot, I will be using the method, right, get row, whatever I have written, get row count, and I will be giving the index. Index will be 0 because this is the first row. In case multiple row is there, you can change the index. So that is done, and here I need to store it integer, right, some integer, because it will give you only row. So you can see error message gone. Then I need to iterate all the value here, right, whatever here. Okay, so I will be creating a for loop for integer, anything you can give I, j, any value. So suppose say I equal to, it will be starting for 0, it will go till I less than rows, right, this is the rows I want to go till I less than rows, so that it will be starting for 0 and it will go till rows minus 1, because everything is starting for 0 here only, right, instead of 1, and I plus plus. That is the for loop I want to create. Then definitely for loop I want to store it everything here. So here I will be storing as creating a variable, suppose say Facebook user, Facebook credentials, I will be creating a variable credentials. Okay, and here I need to give the rows, because it will be object. Last time you see here it is object, right, because object is nothing but your iterations and your kind of element. So I will be creating an object here, credentials here, object, 2-dimensional object. Okay, equal to, how can I get the value? So it will be that variables config dot get data, whatever we have written in the method, right. So there are 3 methods we have written. Get data, where you can give the first is seat number. So seat number is nothing but the 0 seat, because I am reading from the first seat. Then the value, it will be I, because I am reading the rows, right, it will be I, rows will be vary, and column will be also 0, because first column I am reading, and here I am storing it.
Actually, I'm not able to view your screen, only hearing the voice.
No, it is still sharing. Okay, so let's me try to stop sharing it once more time. Are you able to see it now?
No, it's actually, I am able to see, maybe Intronil might be having some network issues at it.
Okay. Still I am stopping my sharing once again. I am sharing once again. So it's I have closed my sharing. I am sharing once again. Are you able to see now?
No, no.
No.
Ankur, are you able to see it?
No, I am also not able to see that.
Okay. No, it is still there, it's showing it.
Ankur, are you able to see? Because I am not able to see.
I am not able to see too because you know what that is getting displayed to us is that you are presenting to everyone that screen. Now it's
Yeah. Right. I was there in the screen only. That is the reason. Okay. So in case you are not able to, maybe you can go to the video. Okay. So let's complete it that part. So here I am creating some kind of variables here. Okay. Facebook credentials. So here we are giving three different things, right? Based on the methods, right? We have written. One is the row integer seed number, then row and then column. So I am giving it. So here you can see the seed number definitely it will be first seed, so I am giving the index as 0, and here row is the variable part, so it will try to take all the row one by one, and column is for the user ID, it will be storing in the first column, right? So that is the reason I am giving it 0, and for the second password column I will be giving it to 1, and here I am giving, you can see the I0. That means this is the row and this is the column number 0. Similar way for the other part, for the password part, I can give it to 1, and here I can change it to only the column number, and then I will be returning it, right? I will be returning that.
We are using config.getData. This is the line of code that is required to.
No, this is the variable I have declared, right? Config. I have created, right? This is the variable I have created for the constructor.
Okay.
Return credential. Create a local variable. Okay, I am reading the path, I am reading it. Data provider, I am for integer I equal to 0. Okay, Facebook credentials, integer I. No, I don't want to change it. Let's see what's the problem is happening. Create constructor. I already created the constructor only. Okay, got it. We need to import it, right? Otherwise how they will try to. Pull the test and the class levels. Facebook login. One second. Enter provider. Yes. So one second. Let me see whether recording happening or not. Okay, recording is happening. Yes. So here we have done everything correct, but we need to give the object return type, right? Okay. So here definitely we are at row. After that we need to give the object, right? Because this is the object type we are giving it. Okay. So here we will be giving the object type same way. We will be giving the object, and we will be giving the object variable name is that, So then only creating the variables and new object, and here I will be giving the rows as row parameter instead of hard coding it, and column as 2 because I want to go through 1 and 2 column. Okay, that is a simple thing, otherwise everything is same. Okay, so I am not deviating anything from here. Okay, I missed that part. So here whatever I am doing with the constructor, I am creating a variables, nothing, and where I am passing the path. Okay, after that I am creating a variable for rows. How many rows is there here? Okay, so I am getting those row count here first. After that I am creating object where I am storing the variables, right? This is the row where it will iterate the row level and column level. I will be iterating only two things, right? And row, password and user ID. Okay, so then I am creating a for loop where I am iterating it, and here I am want to get the rows for the user ID, right, where it will be iterating all the row one by one, and I am storing in the first column, reading it from the first column. That is the reason column is 0, and I am reading it with the help of index. Seat index is 0, row is 0, I and column is 0. Similarly for the password it is 1, and then I am returning it. So that's way I am trying to read the data from here. Now let's close the Excel sheet and let's try to run it the class from here, and let's see whether the 3 combination is running from the Excel sheet. So it will definitely same way it will behave. So in the TestNG sessions we have hard coded everything in the data provider itself, but here we are reading the data from the external source as an Excel sheet with the help of Apache POI. So it is, you can see it is opening the Facebook page, and it is entering the username 11 first rate, and then it will be username 22 and then username 33, like that, whatever we have given in the Excel. So that's why with the help of Apache POI you can create some custom methods, and then you can read the data. So for first thing is that you need to get the path of the Excel sheet, then you need to know the name of the Excel sheet, you need to get to know the sheet name of the Excel sheet, then you need to know the row number, then column, and the value of the columns, right, or the cell. That way you can see the run, it's run for 3 different data combination, right, 1 1 1 2 and 1 3. So whatever I have given in my Excel, right, Facebook credential. Now if I want to change the data combination to 2 or 5 or 10, so I will simply update in here only, right? Okay, so here instead of 1 2 I will be marking at 2 2, and here I can also mark it 2 2. In case I want to update it to some 10 rows, 5 rows, and with the data combination, I will simply update my Excel sheet without impacting anything in the code, and I will be simply running it from here. So now it's 2 data set, and I also updated the combination, right, 1 1 1 1, password 1 1, and then next one is user 2 2 and password 2 2. So it will run for 2 times. So you can see it is running. Okay, it is running for 2 iterations. So that's why instead of hard coding in the data provider part, we are trying to get the information from the external source. So as and when required, we will update only the Excel sheet, not here updating here. So you can see it is very easy, right? So that's why we can create our script with the help of data driven approach or data driven testing, because we are reading the data. Sometimes we can write the data in the Excel as well. So I will show you slowly. Okay, no need to worry. So that's why, right, instead of hard coding here, we can create the data in some external source. It can be CSV, Excel's database as well. We can read the data, and after reading it, we can properly use those data in our script, right? So that is the main objective all about for the data driven testing. Okay, so I already gone through all the stuff. So that's all for today's session. So any kind of problem, definitely you can reach out to me. Thank you.